Have you ever woken up from a dream, maybe even a really intense nightmare, but instead of feeling panicked, you actually feel this weird sense of relief about a real life problem you've been having?
Oh, yeah. Like the world feels just a little bit lighter, even if the dream itself was chaotic.
Right, but then on the flip side, have you ever felt trapped in a dream that's just an endless, buzzing yellow office space? Like you're wandering around and the air smells like wet carpet and it's just pure, inexplicable dread.
Ugh, yes. That is a very visceral, deeply uncomfortable image. And, it perfectly illustrates the wild contrast of the human mind at night.
It really does, because we go from experiencing this profound, invisible emotional healing in deep sleep straight into like absolute terror while lying completely still in our beds.
Which is just so bizarre when you actually think about it.
It is, and that contrast is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. We are going to explore the hidden, highly active, and honestly sometimes terrifying architecture of our dreams.
Yeah, it's quite the journey.
We're going to uncover how our brains literally use sleep to perform emotional surgery on us. Plus, how we can hack the very edges of sleep for pure creative genius. And maybe the creepiest part, how the internet has somehow crowdsourced a terrifyingly specific collective nightmare.
To guide us through all of this, we've pulled together a really fascinating stack of sources for you. We have a groundbreaking 2024 study out of UC Irvine. This was published in Scientific Reports that just completely changes how we view emotional memory processing.
It totally blew my mind.
Right. And we're pairing that with an insightful piece from Psychology Today about the science of liminal dream states. And finally, we'll be analyzing these extensive internet folklore documents detailing the unsettling phenomenon known as the backrooms.
I have to say, leading up to this, looking through all these materials has completely reframed what it means to get a good night's sleep for me. I mean, I'm so hyped for this.
It definitely changes your perspective.
Because we're taught to think of sleep as a rest period, right? Like a shutdown mode. But it's really not. It's this incredibly busy, high-stakes environment in there. So let's just jump right into the deep end with this UC Irvine study. The setup alone is fascinating.
It really is an elegant study design.
They took 125 healthy female participants, right?
Yeah.
And they had them complete this emotional picture task before and after a full night of sleep. And while they slept, they tracked their sleep architecture using Aura rings.
Yeah, and the Aura rings are key here because they allowed the researchers to track the physical stages of sleep in real time. So they knew exactly when these women dipped into light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep.
Okay.
But the core of the experiment was testing how their memories and emotional reactions to specific images actually changed overnight. So they showed them two types of pictures.
The stressful ones and the boring ones.
Exactly. Highly negative stressful images and then completely neutral images. Like a neutral image might be something as mundane as a picture of a regular wooden bridge.
Just a bridge. Something that doesn't trigger your heart rate or make you feel anything at all.
Right. Just totally unremarkable. And what's fascinating here is the evidence they found supporting what neuroscientists call the sleep to forget, sleep to remember hypothesis, or SFSR.
Sleep to forget, sleep to remember. I like that.
Catchy, right? This hypothesis basically suggests that sleep involves a highly specific emotional memory trade-off. The brain preferentially preserves the emotionally charged memories, like the stressful images, but it actively discards the neutral ones.
So it remembers the threat, but it literally deletes the bridge.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this because the way the brain actually executes this is brilliant. I was thinking about it like a smartphone.
I like where this is going.
Right. So overnight, it's like your brain acts as an automated storage manager. It goes through your camera roll and just deletes all the boring neutral photos, like the pictures of your grocery list, the random bridge, that parking spot you don't need to remember anymore.
Just freeing up storage space.
Exactly. But for the really scary or intense photos, it doesn't just save them, it actually applies this calming, cooling filter to them. So that when you look at those scary photos the next morning, you don't instantly panic.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it.
Yeah.
Because the study found exactly that. Overnight, the participant exhibited significantly reduced emotional reactivity to the negative images.
So the cooling filter worked.
It worked. In clinical terms, the images had lower arousal and valence scores the next day. Arousal is basically how much the image makes your heart race, and valence is how negative it feels. Both of those dropped.
Wow.
The images literally felt less intense to look at. But, and here's the critical catch in the data that changes everything, This emotional surgery only happened for the participants who were classified as dream recallers.
Wait, really? The people who actually remembered their dreams the next morning?
Precisely. If you didn't remember your dreams, you didn't get this specific emotional cooling off benefit.
That is wild.
And they also didn't show that clear memory trade-off where the neutral images are forgotten.
Hmm.
So this strongly suggests that dreaming isn't just some, passive byproduct of sleep.
Like exhaust coming out of a car.
Right. Dreams are an active, necessary emotional regulation system.
But wait, I need to stop and ask about this because I feel like if I'm dreaming about a stressful argument at work or being chased by something, my heart rate usually feels like it's spiking in the dream.
Sure, it feels incredibly real.
Yeah. So how is the brain managing to cool the memory down if the dream itself feels so stressful to experience?
That is the perfect question, and it gets right into the biological mechanisms that the research highlights.
Yeah.
It all comes down to what is happening chemically during REM sleep.
Which is when we have those vivid narrative dreams, right?
Yes. During REM sleep, a specific part of your brain called the locus coeruleus goes completely inactive.
The locus coeruleus. And what does that normally do when we're awake?
It's the brain's main source of noradrenergic activity. Basically, it controls the release of stress neurotransmitters like norepinephrine.
Okay, and norepinephrine is what makes your heart pound and your palms sweat when you're scared.
Exactly. So, during REM sleep, your brain is deliberately reactivating these intense emotional memories. It's essentially forcing you to watch the scary movie, but it's doing so in a neurochemical environment that is completely stripped of stress chemicals.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So you are basically hallucinating your own trauma, but your physical body is chemically paralyzed and physically unable to mount a panic response. It's forcing a decoupling of the memory from the physical anxiety.
Exactly. It completely defangs the memory. And while this chemical cooling is happening, the brain is simultaneously engaged in a physical remodeling process. It's called experience-dependent dendritic elimination.
Dendritic elimination. See, when I read that in the source, I immediately thought it sounded like a sci-fi weapon.
I mean, it does sound pretty aggressive.
Ugh.
But think of your brain's neural pathways, like a really dense, overgrown forest trail.
Okay.
Dendritic elimination is essentially the brain sending in a night crew with machetes.
Just hacking away.
Exactly.
Okay.
They are physically pruning the synapses, cutting away the irrelevant, weak connections. So the twigs and weeds of the mundane neutral memories, like the bridge we talked about earlier.
Yeah, right.
And by clearing out all that brush, the main path, which is the important emotional lesson you need to survive, is wide open. It's integrated and easy to navigate tomorrow without you tripping over a panic attack.
That is incredible. The brain is literally pruning its own hardware to protect our sanity.
It really is. So think about what stands out to you listening right now. If you have a highly stressful day at work, this research suggests that getting a full night's rest and having a dream practically guarantees you will wake up biologically equipped to handle that stressor better.
That's amazing.
Your brain has spent the entire night decoupling the event from the physical panic.
It definitely makes me want to prioritize my REM sleep, that's for sure. But if deep REM sleep is this locked door emotional surgery, what happens in the waiting room?
The waiting room.
Yeah, like the moments right before we go under and right as we wake up. Because according to our second source, the Psychology Today piece, deep sleep isn't the only time the brain is doing incredible things.
Oh, no, it definitely isn't. The edges of sleep are entirely different beasts.
Yeah.
We're transitioning now from the deep, automatic maintenance of our emotional health to the intentional, manual hacking of our biology. We're talking about liminal dream states.
The edges. So we're talking about hypnagogia, which is the state of falling asleep, and hypnopompia, which is the state of waking up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Psychology Today article refers to these liminal states as the creative sweet spot.
Because of how fluid everything is.
Exactly. When you are fully awake, your rational mind is in control, right? It filters out all the absurd thoughts. And when you are in deep REM sleep, you are locked into a narrative hallucination. But in hypnagogia, for just a few moments, the mind is incredibly fluid.
It's just freely associating.
Yes. It makes bizarre, wide-ranging associations entirely devoid of the rational constraints of the waking mind. But the key is, you still have enough conscious awareness to observe them.
And the numbers on how effective this is absolutely blew my mind. The source mentions this 2021 study by Lecoq and his colleague.
Right, the 15-second study.
Yeah, they found that spending just 15 seconds, literally a quarter of a minute, in this specific liminal stage makes a person 3 times more likely to solve complex creative problems compared to staying awake or falling into deeper sleep. 3 times.
It's a tiny window, but it's highly potent. And historically, some of our greatest innovators knew about this biological loophole and they actively exploited it.
Oh, I love the examples they gave.
Like Salvador Dali. He famously used a technique he called slumber with a key.
Yeah, so he would sit in a chair holding a heavy metal key over a plate on the floor, right?
Right. And he would just let himself drift off. The moment he crossed the threshold into hypnagogia, his muscles would naturally relax. He dropped the key. The loud clatter of metal on metal would jolt him awake.
And he would immediately grab a pen and sketch the bizarre, surreal imagery his brain had just started to generate.
Exactly.
Thomas Edison did the exact same thing to invent, but he used steel balls in his hands.
Which is just so perfectly Edison.
Right. And it's not just historical eccentric geniuses either. The source highlights a modern climate solutions innovator named Steve Willis. He uses this exact liminal state every single day to brainstorm complex environmental solutions for his novel, Fairhaven. He intentionally surfs the edge of sleep for ideas.
It's a very real practical tool.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back a little on this practice. I'm looking at this from a sleep hygiene perspective. If deep sleep is so profoundly vital for our emotional regulation and memory pruning, like we just established with the night crew and the machetes in the UC Irvine study, isn't there a massive danger in purposefully interrupting our sleep onset?
I see what you're saying.
Like, dropping steel balls and keys just to snag a good idea seems like you're short-circuiting a crucial biological process just for a brainstorm.
That is a very valid pushback. You are balancing the need for sleep hygiene against the desire for creative output. But the key to resolving that tension lies in the fleeting nature of the practice itself.
Because it's so short.
Yes. The Lecoq study emphasizes that 15-second window. We are talking about chronic sleep deprivation or interrupting your primary 8 hours of restorative rest at night.
Okay, that makes sense.
This is highly targeted dream incubation. It's usually done during a deliberate daytime nap or a specific 20-minute brainstorming session.
Ah, okay. That distinction makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Dipping your toe in the water to see what's swimming around, you aren't draining the entire pool.
Exactly. You are exploiting a biological quirk, not living in it. And the Psychology Today piece actually outlines a very specific dream incubation method to do this safely and effectively without ruining your night.
Walk me through it.
First, you set an intention. You write down a clear creative goal or a problem you want to solve. Second, you visualize that problem as you close your eyes.
Okay.
Third, you let yourself drift into hypnagogia, staying open to whatever weird connections your brain makes. And finally, you capture it. You wake yourself up just as you cross the threshold, whether with a key, an alarm, or a partner, and write it down.
And if you don't want to deal with dropping heavy metal objects in your living room, you can just use the morning equivalent, right? Hypnopompia.
Yes, the article calls it morning writing.
Yeah, you simply lie entirely still the second you wake up. You don't look at your phone. You don't get out of bed. You just linger in that groggy in-between state and write freely for 5 to 10 minutes to catch all that associative residue before your rational brain fully boots up and evaporates it.
It's a structured way to consciously guide the normally unconscious associative power of the brain. You provide the framework with your intention, and the liminal state provides the unexpected, out-of-the-box connections.
But this liminal state, this fluid, unsettling in-between zone where the brain is trying to connect dots, isn't just a biological tool for creativity anymore. And I think this is the perfect transition to our final sources from the script documents and the fandom wiki.
Yes, definitely.
Because the internet has taken this exact biological concept of the liminal space and turned it into a massive crowdsourced collective nightmare.
We are moving from the individual creative subconscious into a shared digital mythology. Specifically, we are looking at the phenomenon known as the backrooms.
The origins of the backrooms are fascinating because it started so simply. Back in 2019, on a 4chan message board, a user posted a prompt asking people to share unsettling images that just felt wrong.
Just a general prompt.
Yeah. And someone uploaded a slightly tilted, blurry photo of an empty, yellow, fluorescent-lit hallway. It looked like the most generic, abandoned, windowless office space imaginable.
And from that single mundane image, internet users spontaneously built an incredibly dense, terrifying lore.
It just exploded.
It did. The foundational concept they created is that reality itself is flawed. If you make a wrong move or step through a wall at the wrong angle, you can no-clip out of the real world and end up trapped in the back rooms.
Which is just this endless, randomly generated maze of empty rooms. For anyone who doesn't play video games, no clipping is such a perfect analogy.
It really is.
Imagine playing a 3D video game, running around a city, and your character accidentally steps into a glitch. You fall right through the solid floor of the game world, past the graphics, and land in the blank, infinite developer test environment that runs underneath the game.
Just vast emptiness.
Right. And the internet basically decided that our actual reality has a developer test environment, and it is a damp yellow office.
And the sensory details the community attributed to this space are remarkably specific and evocative. They describe Level 0, the lobby, as having monochromatic yellow wallpaper that basically drives you mad, the pervasive smell of old, wet carpet, and the constant deafening hum of buzzing fluorescent lights.
And the horror is that it's not entirely empty either.
Right, there are entities.
Yeah. The lore includes horrifying entities wandering these levels, like the Sabuesos or hounds. They are described as disfigured, manic humanoids that crawl on all fours and hunt you through the endless yellow maze.
The lore expanded so rapidly into distinct architectural levels. If you wander long enough beyond Level 0, you reach Level 1, known as the habitable zone, which doesn't sound very habitable, honestly.
No, the architecture shifts from an office to something darker and more industrial, with low-hanging fog, concrete floors, and flickering lights. Go deeper and you hit Level 2, pipe dreams.
Oh, that's the one with the long, suffocatingly hot service tunnels lined with hissing pipes.
What really fascinates me is the psychological atmosphere of these places. The sources use a specific, brilliant word for it: canopsia.
Canopsia, yes.
It's the eerie, desolate atmosphere of a place that is usually bustling with people, but is now completely abandoned and quiet. Think about the feeling you get walking through a high school hallway at 2 in the morning, or wandering through a dead shopping mall after hours. It just feels wrong.
It's a profound sense of absence. The architecture expects people, but there are none. And its cultural impact has been massive.
Oh, totally.
A young filmmaker named Kane Pixels created a hugely popular found-footage YouTube series treating the Backrooms as a real place, discovered by a fictional group called the Async Foundation in the 1980s.
Those videos are terrifying.
They are. And the Backrooms draws clear thematic comparisons to the suffocating isolation in Stephen King's The Shining or the shifting, brutalist corporate architecture in the video game Control.
It's a massive cultural touchstone now. But the core question is, why? Why did millions of people across the globe attach their deepest anxieties to a grainy picture of yellow wallpaper and wet carpet?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the answer lies right back where we started, in the biology and architecture of sleep. The Backrooms perfectly mimics the mechanics of a hypnagogic hallucination.
Oh, wow.
In fact, the community lore itself explicitly states that experiencing sleep paralysis is one of the primary ways to accidentally enter the Backrooms.
Okay, so the creators of the lore are actively, perhaps instinctively connecting it to that liminal transition state we were just talking about.
Exactly. The Backrooms is the architectural embodiment of the brain's transitional sleep states. Think about what happens during sleep paralysis or deep hypnagogia. Your mind is awake, but your body is asleep.
You're stuck.
Right. The brain is struggling to render a dream environment, but it doesn't have a full narrative yet. What does a computer do when it struggles to render a complex environment?
It defaults to blank, repeating geometry, empty hallways. That makes so much sense. And because you are paralyzed in bed, you naturally feel a primal panic. So the brain takes that real physical panic and populates the empty hallway with a shadow or an entity to explain the fear.
The hound is just your brain rendering your own sleep paralysis fear.
That is mind-blowing.
Precisely. The Backrooms is exactly that. An empty, endless framework waiting to be populated by our emotional reactivity. It triggers that universal primal fear of being stuck in a transition zone, unable to wake up but not fully asleep. It is an environment of pure vulnerability.
It's like the internet crowdsourced a literal geographical map of our hypnopompic dread. We all know what it feels like to be trapped in that buzzing, paralyzing state right before we wake up, and a random 4chan user finally gave it a name, a yellow color palette, and the smell of wet carpet.
It is collective myth-making based entirely on shared biological experiences. The hardware of the human brain glitching in the exact same way for millions of people.
So what does this all mean? We've gone on quite a journey today. We started by looking at the immense power of our sleeping minds, exploring how our brains use deep REM sleep to actively protect our emotional sanity.
The night crew with the machetes.
Exactly. We automatically forget the mundane, neutral details of our day, the bridges, while simultaneously stripping the panic chemicals away from our traumatic memories, applying that cooling filter so we can actually function the next morning.
We then explored the borders of that deep sleep, the liminal waiting rooms of hypnagogia and hypnopompia. We saw how innovators intentionally surf those 15-second edges, dropping keys and writing freely to capture the brain's bizarre associative power before the rational mind takes over, unlocking true creativity.
And finally, we saw how the deeply unsettling nature of those exact liminal states has birthed an entirely new genre of digital folklore. The Backrooms basically took the universal biological glitch of sleep paralysis and turned it into an endless, terrifying, crowdsourced maze that has completely captivated the world.
It all highlights the profound, continuous interplay between our waking environment and our sleeping minds. Which I think leaves us with a rather provocative thought for you to consider tonight.
Oh boy.
If our biological dreams have the power to regulate our waking emotions, and we are now spending so much of our waking lives consuming crowdsourced artificial dreamscapes like the Backrooms online, will the internet's obsession with liminal horror eventually begin to rewrite the biological structure of our actual dreams?
Are we actively feeding the algorithm of our own subconscious?
Exactly.
If I wake up tonight smelling wet carpet and hearing buzzing fluorescent lights, I'm going to blame you. But seriously, it makes you wonder the next time you wake up feeling strangely relieved about a problem. Was it just a dream? Or did your brain's night crew just successfully navigate its way out of the yellow hallways with their machetes? Keep wondering, keep questioning, and keep exploring.